Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Hyun, and I'm the CEO and founder of Hockey is Diversity. And in the 21st century, racism is still part of the game. Our research has shown that players of color in all top European professional hockey leagues had to or are going to experience racism. And as long as the hockey world cannot find an answer to end racism in the game, there will be no growth. And in order to make our hockey world inclusive for all, it is important to understand how racism is embedded in our history and society in the past and present. As long as we deny that racism is intertwined in our everyday systems of operations, in schools, offices, and universities, we cannot make much progress. At this time, I would like to introduce Black hockey historian Bob Dawson, who will be co-moderating the discussion round with CJ Garcia. Bob was the first Black player in the Atlantic Intercollegiate Hockey League in 1967. He made history in 1970 when he played on the line with Darrell Maxwell and Percy Paris to form the first and only all-Black line in Canadian university hockey. He's the founding member of the Black Ice Hockey and Sports Hall of Fame Conference in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. He's a contributing senior sports writer for Box Score News. He's the author of the policy paper for anti-racism in Canadian hockey, and he's the initiator of the 125th anniversary of the Colored Hockey League of the Maritime Post Stamp, issued by Canada Post. And Bob was recently honored by the Ottawa Senators for his contribution to make our game inclusive. We'll come now to CJ Garcia. CJ plays currently in the French Ligue Magnus for the Hormadi Anglet, and it is his first stint in Europe. And CJ is a native of Pickering, Ontario, in Canada. He was trained in the Ontario Hockey League before playing in the ECHL and Carleton University. Welcome, CJ.
Thanks.
CJ, I will start right away with the first question. On February 13th, 2022, your team played the Rouen Dragons, and there was an unfortunate incident that was directed against you. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so we had it was like at the end of the game, and the game was pretty heated, and it got physical. So there was an altercation between the benches there, and I grabbed someone else grabbed someone, how it usually goes. But one player from the bench actually was yelling at me the whole time, like, I'm gonna effing get you, I'm gonna get you, you're a effing gorilla, you're an effing gorilla. And I was just like shocked when I heard that, because I'm pretty sure all my teammates heard it, and they looked at him, and then the fans heard it, and I don't know why the refs didn't hear it, because they were right there, and nothing happened from it before. And then once that happened, at the next face-off, a teammate on his team was saying to me that he's not that type of guy. He didn't mean it. Which, why did he say it in the first place? Like, I was just stunned that that was happening. To be honest.
And it's very unfortunate because it's your first stint in Europe, and then something like that happens. But 8 days after the incident, yourself you took on Twitter publishing about the racist incident, and yeah, it's unfortunate. Your team took a while to react to the incident, but it was followed by a counter statement from Rouen, which personally I found um, very disappointing from them. And eventually, the French Hockey Federation got involved. And can you tell us the outcome of the discussion with the federation?
So that day I was supposed to have the discussion. They canceled it last minute. So with everything that was happened, it was 7 days. I was sitting on it. I wrote a statement right after the game in my car, and then people from the office at Hormadi, they were saying, wait, let's see what happens. Wait. But I'm like, for instances like this, you cannot wait, because it's just going to get pushed under the rug even more than it already has. So once I said it 7 days later, explaining myself and explaining what happened, Rouen basically in their statement called me a liar, and said that, this guy is crying wolf. He's done this before, which I've never done this before. So it was just, then I had to take even more action with the video and explaining myself, because I'm not that type of person and I don't want to get defamed through social media for no reason. So that's why I did that. And I'm still waiting to hear from the Federation.
Yeah, I think it's similar to all the incidences that happen in all European top professional leagues, that they are trying and that they're trying to, put it under the rug. And I think you have done the right thing to be outspoken about it, because myself, when I experienced racism, my generation tried to keep it for themselves because there was no one to listen. And I think that's a really brave thing that you did for other players of color coming up. And yeah, uh, thank you, CJ, for your comments here. My next question, CJ, the former NHLer Anson Carter once said, and I quote here, "I don't have the ability to hang up my skin color like a pair of shoulder pads and just hang them up at the end of the day and I can just relax now. It's part of my everyday life, and it should be part of everyone's reality. But what were some of the challenges that you had to endure growing up as a player of color in a white sport?"
Um, yeah, there was many, obviously, always being like the only black kid, or you know going to tournaments and people are like, oh my god, you guys got a black player. Or if I'm playing really well and someone wants to get out under my skin, they'll say slurs to me and try to get me off my game. But I think my parents did a fantastic job of telling me, like, those people, don't take what they're saying to heart, like, because they're just trying to get under your skin. They're trying to make you become someone else who they want you to be. So it was just, for me, it was just, like, my ears were blocked to that type of stuff. But I've heard it, throughout minor hockey, and then, I didn't really hear it. I never heard it in the OHL, but throughout minor hockey, especially when we played in the States, I would definitely hear it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank
yeah,
you, CJ.
yeah.
Think now.
If I may, following up on your comments, CJ, um, at some point, um, did it affect you emotionally, psychologically, in terms of what you were hearing and what you were experiencing, and how did you deal with that?
So yeah, definitely, when you hear stuff like that, it affects you emotionally. But just dealing with that is just, you have to talk to people about it, other players of color, and like, ask them, like, what did you do in the situation when you experienced this, and how did you overcome it? Basically, they just said, people, you can't change your mind about you or what they believe in most of the time. So just, stay, who you are, stay in, not stay in your lane, but like, stay who you are and be true to yourself and be proud of, your black skin, basically. And I've been doing that since, I think, in minor hockey, we had an all black summer team, and we were called the Black Aces. And when we went to rinks, I bet everybody was staring at us, because there was just 20 black families and parents, and we're all wearing orange shirts, matching track suits, and
Mm-hmm.
people are staring at us. And when we started beating teams 6-1, 7-1, people started to take notice, and they're like, oh my god, these kids can really play hockey, like, we have to respect them, and not criticize them, and talk behind their back about their skin color, because they can actually play the game, and they're not here for just some show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Wow. And would that team have been associated with, I think, Cyril Bowlers
Yes, Cyril
in
Bowles.
Toronto.
Yeah, Cyril Bowles was my coach. That's one of the people who really showed me, what hockey is about when I was starting. And he was there when I would look like I was running on ice before, but now I was skating smoothly. And I know we've transitioned. We've had 12, 13 players that have played pro or got drafted, and it's just exciting to know that we kind of started or led the group through that way. And it was just astonishing that when people would look at us and saw 15 black families coming through the arena, they were just like, wow, their eyes opened up, like they were experiencing something for the first time, or chocolate or something. It was astonishing.
Yeah, he has quite a program, a hockey program that he's been operating for, I guess, a good number of years. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Kevin Weeks came through that program, as well as many other black NHL players. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he is also a member of the BIPOC coaches program.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So it was honestly, it was probably one of the funnest times in my life playing in those tournaments, because then we had some of the better white players, or they wanted to come play for us because we play with so much swagger and so much intensity, and it's just fun to win all the time. So it was amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. From what I understand, your father, Walter, was quite a soccer player, and eventually got into coaching. So, how did you get introduced to hockey?
Well, the first time I got introduced was through street hockey when we moved from Scarborough to Pickering when I was about 5 or 6, and we moved on the street and I saw kids playing hockey, so I decided to play with them. And then once I started playing, I started to become better and better. And then I started rollerblading. And then once I started rollerblading, one of the parents on the street told my dad, "You should really put him in hockey." And from there, I played my first year in house league, and I got, I think, the best player in house league and most goals. And then after that, I think it was novice. Usually kids that are trying out for AAA, they're playing, a high level of, select hockey. It's like the best of the best. And my dad said, let's just go try out for the AAA team. And this was my second year of hockey.
Yeah.
So I go to the tryout. I do really, really well. I don't know the game as much as the other kids because they're so conditioned to it. But it was just little things I even learned through those tryouts that helped me get to, the last tryout. And I was the last cut because they can't take a kid who just started playing hockey last year. So then, so after that, I played AA for 1 year, and it was amazing. I scored so many goals, had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends. And then the year after that, I played AAA and never looked back. So my third year of hockey, I was playing AAA. So I never looked back. And then that's when Cyril contacted me, and then we got all these black players together and started a team. So I'm pretty sure it was Adam when we were 11 or so. And that's when we started this team. And obviously it was harder for me at the start because, kids that are playing in the GTHL in Toronto they're on the ice every day. They're with the skills coach, and I wasn't used to it, but it really opened my eyes, and I became a better player with playing with guys like Josh Osang and Stewie Alakis and Theo Lewis and Jaden Lindo and just a bunch of guys, and I know I'm missing names, but like Robbie Fabry, Michael Del Cole, but it was just insane watching them, and I just wanted to get better and better every day at it. So
Yeah, yeah, good for you. Unlike you, where you had started relatively early playing organized hockey, I, on the other hand, did not get into organized hockey till I was about 13 or 14.
wow.
But nevertheless, I, again, like you, was playing street hockey, road hockey, and then eventually I spent many hours during the winter skating on nearby lakes and ponds, sort of honing my skills. And then eventually I did get into organized hockey, played minor hockey, then high school, and then eventually university hockey. So, and I still play hockey today, and this is, I guess, over 50 years ago. I know I'm dating myself, but yeah, it's. What is there about the game that you love? Obviously, you've been playing it for a good number of years, but what is it about the game that you love?
Yeah, well, for me, like playing soccer, it's a possession sport. It's slower. Obviously, it has the flash sometimes with the better players. But when I looked at hockey, I looked at up and down the whole lineup, and everyone is so fast, and the puck moves so quick, and they can shoot the puck so hard with just a flick of the wrist, and then the physicality of it, and then when I started playing and the camaraderie you get from being around the guys, and be these guys that you never met before just become friends for life, even if you play with them since you were 11 or 10.
Mhm.
Like, everybody remembers each other, and you can't replace that. Like, that's why the game is so meaningful to me, because it's the best sport. It's fast. It's the style of the game, how it's handled in North America and even in Europe. Just the fans and the appreciation, you know,
Mhm.
people have for what you do on the ice too, because a lot of people say, "Oh, like I could do that," or I could do that in that situation. But like when it really comes down to it, it takes so much time and to own your skills and get that right shot and right moment and
Mhm.
everything. It's the best. Like, there's no better feeling for me. Is even we're done hockey and I still go out every other 2 days here, still in France, like, just because it just brings me so much joy being on the ice. Like, there's no better feeling for me.
Mhm. Mhm. Again, like you, for me, it was the physicality of the game that I enjoyed and thrived in. And of course, there were other aspects of the game too. And over the years, and sort of learning about the Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes and their contributions to the game, um, somehow um, I wouldn't say it emboldened me, but I became much more appreciative of the game, especially given the contributions by the players from the Colored Hockey League in terms of developing or rather pioneering the butterfly style of goaltending by Henry Braces Franklin of the Dartmouth Jubilees, and of course the slap shot by Eddie Martin of the Halifax Eureka's. So with that sort of historical context, it created a great sense of pride in playing the game, and I became much more appreciative of the game. Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. Did you have a comment or?
No, I was just gonna say that's incredible. That's some crazy history that I didn't even know about, and you
Mhm.
know, I know the maritime leagues. That's where it started, and it's just crazy how far it's come from. You know, your generation and the pioneers to where it is now with you know even there's what two or three even three NHLers that have more than 1,000 games in the NHL. Is just crazy how much it is come from there, and we still have a long way to go still.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Um, CJ, in terms of your hockey, was there a particular player that you looked up to sort of growing up? And can you talk about what that individual might have meant to you?
Yeah, well, for I think I don't know if it's like for everybody else, but I was always I've been watching PK Subban since I was what like 11, 10. And when he was playing in the GTHL to when he was playing in Belleville and just watching some of the things he would do on the ice and how he would carry himself, I was like, this guy is a rock star. Like he is, living a dream, and just the stuff he could do on the ice with his slap shot and his ability to skate and having the confidence to pull those moves was absolutely incredible to me. Like I was just like, wow, I just want to be like that guy. Like that's
Mhm.
amazing. Like like to me, some of the moves and then just the confidence he has. He's a little arrogant, but sometimes you got to be in this game. And yeah, just that was the guy I really watched a lot of highlights of and wanted to play like. But I'm a
Mhm.
little different style than him, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever have the occasion to meet him in person?
Uh, no, I haven't. I have actually never met him, but I know his brothers because I played against them. So I've met the younger brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other players that you sort of um, look up to as well?
Yeah. There's a bunch. I feel like it's very hard to name right now.
Mhm.
But like I like just defensemen that I try to model my game after, and like certain players and uh that just the way they carry themselves and how what they do on the ice, and try to learn some of their tricks and skills that they use over the summer to help them get better, and the nutrition and there's so many aspects. But yeah, I just try to take a little bit from everybody because everybody brings something new to the table, and maybe it could help me, maybe not, but it's definitely helping them you know play the game. So I just try to take a little bit from everybody.
Yeah, and from what you said in relation to PK Subban, I take it that you're a defenseman.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Because that's the position that I played uh,
Oh, nice.
for most of my hockey career. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I
cool.
started as a forward, and I think my first year AAA I was a forward, and one game someone got hurt, and I went back on defense, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, like this guy can play defense too." And then after that, I never looked back. I never wanted to play forward again because I could just see the whole ice from back there, and if someone dumps the puck in, I'm going to back and I'm skating as fast as I can, and then going with speed and try to go through guys because it was just so much easier coming from back there than as a forward. So
Yes,
I loved
yeah,
it.
yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with you. You get a different perspective on the ice of the game, and in some cases, you are like a facilitator or a conductor, wherein you can pretty much, what shall we say, influence what happens on the ice.
Oh no, exactly. Yeah, I always say the defense drives the offense and it drives how the game's going to be played. So if
Yeah.
you cannot make a first pass, if you cannot skate it out, if you cannot, get pucks to the net from the blue line, make simple plays sometimes, then you're gonna have everybody's gonna have a hard game. I think everybody, because it goes up and down the lineup, no matter what. I think the defense drive every play of the game because the forwards rely on them so much, and the goalies too. But we rely on the goalies too. But everybody relies on the defenseman, and I feel like it's the most critical position because the forward can make a mistake and nobody notices. A defenseman makes a
Oh,
mistake
yeah.
and everybody
Yes.
notices.
Yes.
And you look on the video the next day in the coach's office and it's just you. You're like, oh man. So that's why you always got to be on top of your game, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. CJ, racism in hockey, unfortunately, has been around for a long time. You've experienced it. I've experienced it. And yet, hockey bodies and organizations haven't been able to quite deal with it or address it and even eliminate it from the game. What, in your opinion, needs to be done to make the game safer, more inclusive, and welcoming?
Well, for me, I think, with the rule of, I think there just needs to be more rules implemented throughout, the world that, that we're not going to stand for this anymore. And that if you're that type of person, you're not wanted in that league or in that, whatever league you're playing in, basically, because
Mm-hmm.
it's 2022 now, and it just blows my mind that it's still happening and that people still think like that, because we've been around the game, like we're not going anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like just adapt, and we're just like any other person, basically. So honestly, to me, I think just harsher rules and stricter rules on people that are being racist or have racist intentions, that in the game they should be banned, or there should be some sort of heavy fine if the banning doesn't work. But I think that would help tremendously, because once you start, I say, messing with people's livelihood, exactly, and then they start to realize and wake up that, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't act like this. I need to be a better person, basically. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that would work. And just the inclusive part of the game, I just think everybody just needs to, welcome immigrants or the minorities into the game, because everybody wants to play. It's such a fantastic sport. And once, people from other cultures and they see the ice and they see how fast what people can do on the ice, they're just like glued to the game. So I think, just being more inclusive and nicer to people, wanting to be a part of the game, because
Mm-hmm.
we don't have the biggest sport in the world, and obviously it's a pretty expensive sport. But when I look at soccer, I feel like we have the potential to do that and be a very global sport. We just have to be more inclusive, with people coming into the game, because I know they don't, people in soccer don't really care what nationality or what your skin color is. As long as you can play the game, or you want to have fun playing the game, then
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to join.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, CJ, in terms, this is your first year, is it? Playing in the French Hockey League?
Yeah, this is my first year.
Yeah. Um, uh, as part of that, and in coming into the league with your team, was there any sort of uh, diversity courses or training within the team?
No, not really. I really don't think that they have that here. And I just think that, they're behind the times in that. But, people here, I think, understand what has been happening throughout the world. And last summer with the George Floyd and, people being against racism, I think, they're starting to understand and be more inclusive to people of color or immigrants. So I think it's there, but you also still have, that people, some mentalities haven't switched yet and they're still against that. But, stuff, change doesn't happen like that. It takes time. So, more over time, I think they should have an inclusive part in all leagues, or even the French League, because when you look around, there's I think I think 10 or 12 other black players probably in this league. Not some on the top team, but on the team below. But still, there should be a very inclusivity of everybody coming together and realizing that people, not just whites, play this game. Immigrants and blacks and minorities play this game too.
Yeah. So would you think that diversity training or awareness training would be an important component or part in making the game more welcoming?
Yeah, I think so. It would definitely help. It would open people's eyes to what actually happens in the game and what is being said about these people, and they'd be more aware, because once you see it, you'll be more aware of it and not turn a blind eye to it. And I think they should do it how the NHL or even in the OHL, the referees come in before every season and they talk about the rules and this is happening, and then the GMs come and they talk about what's happening. I think there should be some sort of players association that comes into the league, just has like a 30-minute presentation or a presentation about diversity challenges and how we can change as a sport, basically. And that would definitely open people's eyes, I feel like.
And in the team that you play with, what does it look like in terms of representation, aside from yourself as a player, but in terms of the organization? Are there people of color holding different positions within the organization?
I would say not really. I think there's one black player on the U20 team, but other than that, there isn't much diversity throughout our organization here.
And how important do you think that is?
I think
in terms of representation, there's diversity and there's representation. When I talk about representation, I'm essentially talking about within the organization in terms of coaches, managers, administrators, and so forth.
Yeah, I think that would be very, very important. I think just in general, representation matters a lot, because if people don't see people like them or as the same minded doing what they dream of, they'll never think of achieving that, or I can never do that because of my black skin, or I'm an immigrant, or I'm this or I'm that. I think representation matters a lot, because for me, playing hockey, seeing the PK Subans, the Wayne Simmons, and those people, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like them. Like, I grew up around the same areas, and if they can do it, I can do it, basically. And I think the representation really, really does matter. And if people want to get into the sport, there definitely has to be more people in diversified roles throughout the game. If it's coaches, management, and
players of color are affected by racism, often are afraid to speak out in a way like Akim Eluit did about a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. They don't want to sort of rock the boat, or there perhaps is a fear that it may have negative repercussions, against them. What would you tell someone who has experienced a player who experienced racism, in particular a player of color?
I would just tell them, don't be afraid of rocking the boat or telling your side of the story, because it needs to be heard, and that nothing is going to change unless they see it and then they're willing to change because they know it's not right. Because once you don't say anything, people are just going to keep going on and doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, don't be afraid. It's just, who you are as a person, as a player, or whatever, etc. But you just have to know that, there's obviously going to be some people that, are going to think less or not going to believe what you said, but you know what you mean and what happened to you. And it needs to be shared with the world or with the league to let people know that this is not acceptable. Like this is not acceptable in the game of hockey or anywhere. So I think
Mm-hmm.
you just have to be strong and believe in yourself and believe in your words, and hopefully change will come from it. Because like many historians before, like if they did not speak out before, nothing would have changed. And then obviously it's slower, but
Mm-hmm.
time change takes time. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And certainly in terms of Akeem speaking out, you had the George Floyd situation, the tragic situation, which really a lot of the black players, particularly in the NHL, um, spoke out and expressed their views on racism, um, and they sort of stepped out of that hockey culture wherein players basically conform to that hockey culture. That meant that players uh, were to keep in their place and not speak out on um, issues, beyond hockey. And I guess all to say that has certainly changed for the better, and I think it makes for a much better game, because there's no way you can separate um, what happens in hockey from society, because hockey is just as a sport is just an aspect of society, and what happens uh, in society has an impact on uh, sports.
no, yeah, exactly. I think it's right for I think every athlete in that position to speak up about those events, because
Mhm.
there's more to life than hockey sometimes, or sport. And sometimes as a species you need to step up for what you believe in, or a culture step up for what you believe in, because that isn't right, and it
Mhm.
definitely needs to change.
Mhm. Um, One thing Martin, I, and Peter recently talked about was the idea of a BIPOC players network, a network wherein that would serve as a support group for players who have experienced racism, because I think I can recall in a conversation with Jalen, who I'm sure you're aware of his story, who did not have anyone to speak with regarding his circumstances.
Yeah.
And also there was Colin, again, who had experienced racism and had to bear these incidences by themselves in terms of trying to address it. So, would you see a need for such a network?
Yeah, I think that would help tremendously. Just, just someone to talk to through the situation um, would help tremendously, because sometimes you're just so flustered and you don't know how to handle it, or you don't know what's the right thing to say, or if you're, speaking with too much aggression, people might take it, the wrong way. So I think, having a network of people just to talk to would be amazing for the BIPOC community, because I know once that happened to me, I'm close friends with Mark Fraser. He reached out to me and he said, if you want to talk about it, if there's anything I can do to help, or I'm there to help with you, because it's not an easy situation, and especially with media these days, they can construe your words differently, and you know just having someone to talk to just helped me tremendously, and saying, no, it's going to be okay, like, we'll hopefully, we'll get some repercussions for what this person did, and
Mm-hmm.
something was said. So I think it would help tremendously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In sort of um, in closing, on in terms of my series of questions, I have the last one would be, what would you tell or advise a younger version of yourself starting off in hockey?
um, what I would just say, just try to have as much fun as you can playing the game. Don't be too hard on yourself, and don't try to compare yourself to a lot of people or other cultures or other people within the game. Just stay true to yourself, and don't change, and always remember to have fun and love the game, because once you stop doing that, it just becomes like a 9 to 5 job. It seems like that it's not worth it, and it's just putting more stress on you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for um, the dialogue and the conversation that we've had, and I certainly have enjoyed it. And hopefully, we will have the occasion to dialogue and converse again, perhaps even around the idea of the BIPOC Players Network. So on that note, I will turn it over to my good friend Martin.
Yes, CJ, thank you very much for sharing your story. It was very inspiring to listen to your thoughts, and bringing also your experience and valuable insights in our discussion. And I have to say, Mark Fraser, while he was playing in the German league, he was the first player who reached out to us. As I mentioned to you, we have been around since 2010.
Yeah.
Players know us, and there have been racist incidences before, but they have been put under the rug. And Mark Fraser, while playing here in Germany, he was the one reaching out to us and trying to support us, And
Yeah.
we are networked through social media, and yeah, but he's a good man, and I know he's doing good work in Toronto for the Maple Leafs. And yeah, if you see him, please say hi to him. And
I will.
yeah,
I will. That's how I kind of found out about you guys, was through Mark. So
yeah. And yeah, as I mentioned before, you with this discussion here, you are also shaping an important dialogue in our common goal to make hockey an inclusive place for all. Because for those who are interested, they are going to listen to this, and we hope that we will have a lot of listeners, and yeah, making to our common goal, making an inclusive place for all. Thank you, CJ.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.